Hi, welcome to The Guilty Knitter. I'm Vivian from Montreal, and I'm here on a beautiful spring day. One could say that spring only just started in Montreal because it's only been, literally last week I said, oh, this is the first day of spring. You know, that feeling in the air. It takes a while to get here, but we are now hopefully past the worst of it, although they said it might snow a little bit next weekend. Only 1 centimeter or something less than that. So it's okay. We'll survive it. So welcome. Yes, if you are a new viewer, I really appreciate you dropping in and checking this out. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I've had an exciting few weeks since I last recorded. Lots of stuff has happened, really, I guess. Well, okay, not super excited. Don't go crazy there. But I did a couple of blog posts on I have a blog called the Vivian's Tranquil Garden, and it used to be a gardening blog, but now it's become sort of an eclectic, whatever I feel like talking about is what I write about. So I wrote about a couple of concerts I went to see in Vienna when I was there with the orchestra in March, and my husband and I went to see these concerts, and they were really good. I mean, very well played, but it was interesting that the first concert we went to was all made up of wind players, like that means woodwinds, from the Vienna Philharmonic, and I think there was a bass player too, but anyway, mostly woodwinds, and 13 people. And not a single woman on stage. And I remember thinking, God, that is so weird. Like, what are the odds on that happening? And then I remembered that the Vienna Philharmonic has a long history of not really welcoming women to their ranks. In fact, apparently they didn't hire a woman until, gosh, I'm going to forget the date, but it's, I think, somewhere in the 90s or something. So there have been, even more so, like, they don't hire people of color either, pretty much. So it's been, they've got a kind of a bad rep when it comes to that kind of thing. So I decided to write about it, and I'm telling you, the backlash. I mean, I don't usually get that many people writing, or reading my blog, first of all, let alone reading comments. And I got, went from like 100, maybe average, to like over 800 in one day, which never happened. So in my little tiny corner of the blog sphere, I count that as going viral. So, I mean, and some of the things people said, not necessarily on my blog, but it was also shared to another site called Slip Disc, with all classical music stuff. And a lot of people were very scathing and misogynist in their remarks, and they just, I was kind of horrified. So I got a bit of a taste of the old, the trolls of the blogosphere. So that wasn't too much fun, but at the same time, I'm like, well, obviously I still can't stop talking about this stuff, because we're never going to change otherwise, So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out if you want. The light in here is quite bright because it's a gorgeous day. Like I said, it's just so sunny and beautiful. I have to show you little Monty because I gave him a bath and a haircut today. Doesn't he look adorable? You can see his face. I'm really, like, this is not my job, right? I just do this because I like doing it. Then it saves me money, I guess, but that's not the real reason. So, actually the real reason is that last time I took him to the pet spa, he kind of like snapped at the person who was doing the work. So I don't dare to bring him back there. So I do it myself now. Now, I'm just going to get you to hold on while I get a drink. Be right back. Hi, I'm just interrupting my own program to insert a little bit that I had to re-record, because when I went to get my tea and came back, I didn't realize how loud my tea kettle was going to be until I listened to it, and I could barely hear myself. So I thought, well, I'll just insert a little bit here, which I'm recording a couple of days later. And I think I was talking about the backlash from my little blog post. And yeah, I just wanted to say that it kind of opened my eyes to what's out there in terms of the reaction to what I consider normal equality, what should be normal equality amongst men and women, and of course, by extension, and between races, etc., between everybody. So even though, of course, I knew all this stuff, like it's not like I was born yesterday, but at the same time, just having that kind of thing sort of thrown at you, it just made it more real. And I don't know, I guess I came out of it just feeling like, you know, if I have something on my heart, I'm gonna keep writing about it, and I'm gonna keep talking about it, because it's not right what people have to suffer in many parts of the world, and even here in our own society, as we've been made aware by by many movements, the Me Too movement, of course, and now this latest movement on Instagram about inclusion and equality. So yeah, I just wanted to say that helped me kind of solidify how I would like to go on. And, you know, I'm not always going to be writing about that kind of thing on my blog. It's still going to be an eclectic mix, and I'm hoping to totally revamp my blog, by the way. Trying to, well, it'll take me a while, because it's a real learning curve. I don't know how to really do all the things I want to do on my website, all the changes I want to make, so it'll be a while, but I'm going to work on it bit by bit, and eventually launch something that reflects a little more what it's going to be like. Like right now, it's really a gardening blog, but not really, and it's just kind of a mishmash and not very clear to people. So I'm going to hopefully fix that up. So yeah, that's about all I said, but I think I also forgot to mention that on Instagram you can find me as @GuiltyKnitter, and on Ravelry I'm the Guilty Knitter, all one word. Also on Ravelry I have a page for this blog, or this vlog, this video podcast, and just look for the Guilty Knitter. Actually, I'll put a link down below, but if you need to look for me, I'm the Guilty Knitter and the Guilty Knitter podcast. We have a page, so please introduce yourself if you feel so inclined. Not too much goes on over there right at the moment. Maybe I should do another knit along. That seemed to get things going last year when I did a knit along. But in the meantime, I hope you come back. And also, that's it. So back to the regular podcast, which is already started. Bye. So today on the program, I'm mostly going to talk to you about my works in progress, but I will talk to you a little bit about some podcasts I've been watching, and some upcoming plans I have for upcoming projects and things like that, and maybe some technique videos that I'm hoping to make at some point. So yeah, I'm working on 3 projects right now, mainly. A couple other things that are kind of hibernating, but these things are what I'm really working on. So I will talk to you about this one first, which is my timber sweater, and I haven't worked on it a ton, as you can see, but pretty sure I've made some definite progress since the last time I talked about it, pretty sure. So I've split for the sleeves, as you can see, and I really like the back detail and the collar. I'm a tiny bit worried that this collar is a little too narrow, but I tried it on and it fits me pretty well. It's not going to be an oversized cardigan really. It's going to be on the sort of not fitted because it is a cardigan, but it's not supposed to meet at the front. It's supposed to stay open. So in fact, I'll show you a picture. I've showed you before, but I may as well show you again. Yeah, so here they are, like pictures of this lovely girl. This is the Shannon Cook and Jane Richmond pattern book called Within. So yeah, it's supposed to kind of, no, not quite meet in the middle. And I'm a little concerned about that. I'm not sure I'm going to love that. But, so what I decided to do is, I actually added a few stitches where I did the increases that they said for the shoulders. And then I decided to add a few more increases so that there'd be a little more room at the front. So here are the increases. So I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, here are the, what do you call that? You know what the raglan increases here. And then I just added a few more. I knit straight for a while and then I thought, oh, maybe I need to make these bigger, this bigger. So and then I added a few more. I don't think it's very obvious. I think it's fine. And then I also added some stitches in the underarms because I was a little afraid that it wouldn't be big enough in the arms, in the sort of, you know, sleeves. So that's what I did, and got my arms, my sleeves are on waist yarn, and I'm getting there. But it's possible I'll end up putting this away for the summer because I have another project which is also a cardigan, but it's made out of linen, which I want to bring out and finish, the Lizzie cardigan, which I talked about on another episode. It's a while ago now, probably last fall that I put it away. So it's time to bring that one out and work on that. Sorry, here I am again. Monty's a little chilly with having been washed, but he's sitting in the sun and he should be okay, warming up a little bit and drying off. Okay, so next thing is my socks, which these are a pattern that I'm kind of making up as I go along, and it's a basic toe-up sock recipe that I use with Jenny's Magic Cast On, and then I just did this little detail here just for fun with the two yarns. But then this is done in a kind of neat color work. So it's sort of an argyle pattern you can see. And it's a neat color work by Laura Lee Beltman, I believe. That she's the one that made up this pattern, I think. Well, she says that she didn't make it up, that, you know, it's kind of in the ether somewhere, and she said, take it, use it, and so here I am using it. But I really find it's fun to do, and how you do it is, I'll show you what it looks like inside, because you don't pull it, or you don't take it with you the whole time. You just you kind of run these yarns together, keep them separate from your main yarn, and you make this little this cute little pattern. So I think this is the fun part of knitting socks, is just using it to kind of, you know, just do something completely fun and use your imagination. And the fact is that I don't have a ton of this yarn. I only have this much to do the other sock. So I carefully weighed it, and I should have enough. I had to do a little tiny cuff, as you can see. And of course, I'm using pink yarn for the forethought heel. I found out that from Roxanne Richardson that if you put in waist yarn and you choose your spot beforehand, so you put in a piece of waist yarn, then it's called a forethought heel, not an afterthought heel, which of course makes a lot of sense. And that's what I'm making here. And the other thing I learned from Roxanne is how to make the make an afterthought heel or forethought heel have a little extra room, because they can be a little bit snug for a lot of people, and I think I might be one of them. So I'm trying it out. I hope it's going to work. She says to add stitches for the first few rows and then start your decreases for your you know, for the heel. So I shall see how that works. I don't know how it's going to work, and I sure hope I'm going to have enough yarn, because this is all I have for the one heel, for the two heels I should say. We'll see. So that's that. I figured, you know, and funny thing is that on my last video I said how I didn't care for afterthought heels. And here I am, like, the minute I practically stopped recording last time, I started this sock, and I'm doing an afterthought heel, or a forethought heel. But it was the only way to go, because I just didn't know how much yarn I was going to have. And I thought with this particular kind of design that I wouldn't want to be kind of fussing with a regular heel. I just wanted to do the whole tube and then start the heel. So we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited. I just hope, like I said, is that gonna be enough yarn? We'll see. All right, so I used this, which was it's called Socks Yeah. I don't know the colorway. I've had this for quite a while. Got it on special. I think this is yarn ink in a sort of purpley, dark purple colorway. It looks a bit blue, but it's actually purple. And that's what I use for the toe. And hopefully I'll have enough to use for the other toe. And yeah, so it's kind of fun. That's what I really like about socks, and I encourage you to try that. It's, you know, just to do something, you know, add a little design. I mean, it's really not that tricky. Look up a book of stitch patterns and just figure out the math. It's super easy just to add a little touch of something. Or you could make up a little color work pattern. Yeah, Argyle. I like it. That kind of makes me think about, see, I'm wearing my Lima vest, which I designed and knitted myself. I'm quite chuffed with it. I like the way it looks with this color. And I was thinking it'd be fun. Maybe I should specialize in designing vests. I'm sure there's a niche market for that. Anyway, I thought next time I make another vest, maybe I'll do a whole color work vest. That'd be kind of fun. Maybe I will. Recently I bought the Strange Brew pattern from Tin Can Knits, because I want to try making up my own color work. And they make it relatively easy to do. Although when I looked at the pattern, it was a lot of information there. So that might take me a while to digest and figure out, but and I'm not in any hurry to start, because so many other things on my needles and in my queue. But I definitely will try that. Next whip is my my Vertices Unite, which, oh, okay, I brought this with me on my tour. So I left on March 7th and came back on the 28th of March. And I thought I just needed something that would be easy and straightforward to knit, and so I chose another Vertices Unite. So this is my second one. And I started with this green, which is Koigu, and with another colorway, which is this thing, Blackened Rainbow by Yarn Ink. And this is like a sock yarn, and I'm sure it would make really cool socks. But anyway, I decided to use it to stripe with the green for the main first section. Then I bought these two these two yarns. I've already told you this, but anyway, I'm repeating myself. I've told you this on maybe the last podcast. But anyway, these are a curry and a scarlet, I think, colorway from Jean or Jane Cashmere, which I bought in Vienna. So these are my Vienna, what do you call them? Souvenirs. My souvenirs from Vienna. And they are wonderful, wonderful yarns. So that's what I did the second section with. And I decided to stripe that. Because there's that red that's in here I really wanted to pick up on. And there's some of that, a little bit of something like that curry in that colorway. So then the next thing, I also bought this blue merino at that store in Vienna, Volivine, I think Volivine. And I ran out of it, so I had to add a little red in the corner here. But hey, it's Vertices Unite, it's Stephen West, anything goes. So that's the blue. And now I finished another section here of the curry, just plain. And now I'm on this section, which is that same black and rainbow, but just by itself. I wanted to see how it would knit up. And it's gorgeous, although I think it would look better in stockinette stitch. I'm almost tempted to do a section of stockinette. I guess I could, right? I don't know. So, but anyway, once I finish, I hope I'm still going to have some left over of this. This is quite a large skein of yarn, so I'm hoping I'll have some left over and I can make part of this, you know, do something with, maybe make a small pair of socks. Because that is sock yarn. It's got 25% nylon or something, 20 or 25%. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's not, you wouldn't believe it, it's not as colorful as my other one. This is a smaller one too. I made yeah, I didn't go up to quite the same, didn't go to quite the stitch count as the large size. Somewhere in between small and large. I guess it's the medium size, but he doesn't give directions for that. A couple of issues I have with that pattern. I mean, if you are not an experienced knitter, it's not the easiest pattern to follow, even though it's not a hard pattern. It's all garter stitch, and I recommend it for beginners in one way, but the spots where it's tricky is where you you start picking up stitches along these other sections, and there's no sewing involved. On the wrong side, you can see where the sort of chain here, so all of her stitches are slipped, and then you pick up a stitch as you go. I think it was this one, yeah. So you're kind of like joining the sections as you go, you know, row by row, or stitch by stitch, whatever. And it just, like, he doesn't explain that really, really well. That's all I'm saying. And if you happen to lose a stitch along there, along that sort of chain where you're connecting the two sections, that is tricky. You really want to make sure you grab the offending drop stitch as quickly as possible, because it kind of just runs down, so like you could just take it right off. The other, like, the two sections will just come apart. It's really strange. I mean, you don't really realize that that's what's happening, but it is kind of what's happening. It's really weird. So yeah, so if that happens, then you have to grab that stitch, and I figured out how to kind of move it back up and save the day, but maybe someday I'll try to show it to you in a video, because I'm not sure there's anything out on the internet about fixing that mistake. I'll see. I have to check, but I was really glad that I was able to fix it, even though I didn't do it perfectly. You can kind of see where I fixed that mistake, but anyway, it's not bad. And I'm very, very happy with this. I might, even though, you know, I don't know, I might give this away to somebody, like maybe my son. I think he'd like it. And it's kind of like it's not super feminine in the color scheme. So, not that he really cares too much about that, but maybe he'd like it. Anyway, he's coming over tonight, so I'm gonna show it to him. If he loves it, he might get it. I never know. So I forgot to mention that the yarn I used for, back in these socks again, I used the pink that I'm also using for the heel. I used as the pink element here, but and I needed a dark purple to go with it because I wanted to tie that in with the toe color, but I didn't really have enough, I didn't think, to use it. Although it didn't end up taking very much yarn. So what I did was I just cut a piece of this yarn, which doesn't really look like it would be suitable, but there are some purple bits that are very long, gradual changes. So all I needed to do was look for a piece of purple, and it was really close to the right color. So that's what I did. And anyway, it really doesn't take a lot of yarn because it's just this much, and it's only you only make 2 stitches every row of this thing. So and the rest of the time it's just going up. It's very economical on yarn, and it makes a nice little display, I find. So what's next? So those are my 3 whips. So I don't know, maybe this is not going to be a very long episode. I did want to mention that I'm planning on doing like patching this sock I made last year, which is such a beautiful yarn. It is so cozy, but it's MCN, which is merino cashmere nylon, and it really, it hasn't held up well. I have a hole right here, and but I just happened to see the latest Fruity Knitting episode where she gives you a tutorial on fixing socks. So I'm going to try her method. I think that's going to work very well, and it'll be nice to have these socks back in circulation, because I really only wore them a few times. It was pretty sad the way they didn't hold up. And when you think about all the hours it takes you to make a pair of socks, then putting another hour into fixing it is actually probably worth it, especially if it's a very sort of contained spot that's wearing out and the rest is fine. I think it's really it's a skill worth learning. So I'm going to try that. And I thought I would actually use a completely contrasting yarn. But, well, the nice thing is that it's by the same, this is by Annie Perrin, she was called Knitting It Up. I don't know if that's her, if she's still going by that, and her name's Annie Perrin on Instagram, I believe. So she dyed this yarn, and she dyed this yarn. So I thought, well, they're not the same, but this is at least got 25% nylon, so it'll be sturdy. I had a very lovely weekend this weekend, which is Easter weekend, with my sister. She came to visit for 3 days from Ottawa, and she just started to learn how to make socks. Well, she knitted quite a bit when she was younger, but she hadn't knit for several, maybe even a decade or 2 in any serious way. So she got back into it recently and decided to make herself a pair of socks. So she just finished her first one while she was at our house, and it was really fun to gab about knitting and watch a little bit of knitting videos and discuss techniques and things. Her name's Nora. Hi Nora, if you're there watching. And the thing is, she is an excellent rug hooker. She does gorgeous work. So now that she's into knitting, well, I hope she'll still keep doing her rug hooking. I don't think she'll quit. And the other passion we share is for the garden. We're both avid gardeners, although I would say she's way more than I am. And she has a gorgeous place in a gorgeous garden in Ottawa with a pond and everything. Never had the courage to make a pond in my garden. But anyway, it certainly is a beautiful day. We were out there a little bit earlier doing some garden work. I forgot to tell you all about my Mozart Requiem that I just finished performing last week. We had three performances of it, and I don't know, most people don't know this or would even care if they did know, that the second trombone, which is me, has a solo in the Mozart Requiem, which is quite a famous solo amongst us lowly trombonists, and as being kind of one of very few in our repertoire, in the second trombone repertoire, that is fairly substantial. So I always have to work up. That's one reason why I haven't podcasted in a month, is because I was very busy with thinking about that and practicing for that and then performing it. But it all went very well. It might be my last one, who knows, but it was a really fun experience because the conductor was a guy that really is into early music and he's very knowledgeable, and so he wanted it in a very specific way and very fast. I was surprised how fast he wanted it, but it was fun on the whole, and I was glad when it was over, because it is stressful, but I enjoyed it. It's a great piece. Oh my god, I love that piece. If you ever get a chance to go hear it in live, you should not hesitate. It's a wonderful piece. So that was exciting, and that finished up on Friday. Yeah, Good Friday. So this weekend has been a bit of a celebration, and I've been enjoying my sort of relaxation, you know, and the relief of the less stressful life. Here's my beautiful knitting mug that I got from Espace Tricot, but it has a big crack in it, which probably means I shouldn't be using it, but I'm a rule breaker, you know. I live on the edge. That's not true at all. Okay, so I just want to mention one of my next projects. If I might cast this on before the summer, I don't know, but I want to make a Zweig out of this beautiful yarn, and I may have already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. So this is this purple. Oh gosh, is it Madeline Tosh? Gosh, I don't remember now. It might be Madeline Tosh Light. And this is Bien-Aimé. La Bien-Aimé. This is the yarn I bought in Paris last year, I guess it was. Oh, I just love it. It's got these little flecks of green, but it's very, very neutral. So I think it'll be great for the lace portion of the Zweig, which is like got this big lace thing here, and then the rest of it's just plain. Well, actually, there's a texture in the body, but I'm not sure. I'll see. Yeah, so that's gonna be fun. Can't wait. I've been wanting to cast one of those on for ages, and I feel like if I don't cast it on pretty soon, I'll suddenly decide I don't like the pattern or something, you know. That's what happens to me if I wait too long. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of past it. I don't really care about that. That's what happened to I was planning on doing a branches and buds sweater. I still kind of like that pattern, but I'm not as crazy about it as I was when I first saw it. I ended up making the Birkin kind of instead of branches and buds. But I do like both. They're gorgeous patterns. You can look them up on Ravelry, branches and buds. That's beautiful. And you can go back and check my previous, one of my previous episodes. I talk a lot about the Birkin. It's a really great pattern too. All right, so last thing, I just want to talk to you a little bit about some podcasts that I've watched recently. One of them is a knitting podcast called The Drunk Knitter, which is a lot of fun. I really like Sophia, I think. She's really fun. So I recommend her. she's quite knowledgeable. She has this way of speaking that you kind of think, oh, she's just sort of fluffy, you know, because she's so full of, well, she's kind of silly, you know, she has this sort of fun sense of humor, self-deprecating and that kind of thing, but she's actually very smart and and she's very knowledgeable. So once you get past that, I mean, that part is just fun to watch. But there, you know, she's got a lot more depth to her than you might think at first. And even though she calls herself the drunk knitter, I've never seen her drunk on any of the episodes I've watched. So I recommend her very much. She always has, if you like animals, she always has animals in her. She has a lot of, it's kind of a menagerie of pets. So she often shows them on her videos. Oh, I forgot to show you my little, I bought this gorgeous begonia. Isn't it lovely? I think I'll just leave it there beside me. I love it. I'm going to put it on my deck later on when it gets a little warmer. I'm going to put it outside. So, sorry, I was interrupted by my stupid camera turning itself off. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I haven't been watching a ton of actual knitting videos because, I don't know, I've been watching other stuff. I watched, been watching Escape to the Chateau, which I see on CBC, Gem, and that's been fun. It's about this couple who buy a chateau in France. They live in, they're British, and they renovate it and try to make a go of it as a wedding venue. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's just complete escapism from my perspective. But it's kind of fun to watch, and they're very inventive and creative, I must say. They kind of are trying to do all this on a pretty small budget. I mean, still they have a budget, but not that big. So that's interesting to me because they're really having to be creative, trying to reuse things, buy things that aren't new, which is wonderful because we all need to do that a little bit more. Try not to waste so much in this world. So what was I going to say about that? Okay, so that was fun. You can watch that. Escape to the Chateau. It's fun. The other thing is, oh yeah, I've been listening to a really good podcast an audio podcast called Music, Mind and Movement. And if you're interested in music, or if you're a performer of any kind, you might find this really interesting because she talks about integrating your body and your spirit and your the psychology of playing and performing, and it's really it's a lot to it. She does interviews with all kinds of different people, and it's all very interesting. So that's something to check out. Her name is Karen Bulmer, the woman who does that one, and she is a tuba player. She plays tuba with, no, I think she teaches at in Newfoundland at the university, Memorial University in Newfoundland. So she's cool. I met her and she's really, really nice and very smart. So, and she's a knitter. Maybe she'll watch this. Hi, Karen. I don't know if she watches it, but if she does, that's a shout out for Karen and her beautiful podcast. So that's just a couple, and of course I love Fruity Knitting, and I really enjoyed Roxanne Richardson. I like both of those podcasts because they teach you. I was fascinated about learning new things, and despite my, I have a podcast that's basically the traditional knitting podcast format, which is show your whips and your finished objects, which I don't have any of, by the way, this week, in case you're wondering. But yeah, I have one of these basic ones, and yeah, I don't really watch that format all that much myself. Although I did watch a bit of the Grocery Girls today, and that was kind of fun. Oh, I wanted to mention, can I just go back a few steps, because I totally forgot to mention a thing that I did in this sock. I did an inadvertent yarn over as I was knitting along, and I always knit my socks on magic loop, and so when I got to the edge at one point, I did a yarn over, and then I knitted it the next round without noticing. So I went about 4 rows or so, or maybe even more, before I noticed it. And I thought, oh crap, so now I have an extra stitch. What do I do? My temptation is I always want to check whether there's any way I can fix it before I tink back or rip back, because I just don't feel like doing that most of the time. And plus, if you try to fix your mistake, well, you're going to learn something, even if you might mess it up. So I did that. What I ended up doing was just letting that stitch go. I just took it off the needle, let it run down, and of course there's a big gap. There's kind of a big messy spot there, but I just kind of pulled and prodded and kind of evened out that area. So now it's barely noticeable just in this area. And it's basically fine. I mean, once you get it on your feet, it's gonna pull out, like or block it, if I block it, that stuff's gonna even out. So I thought that's a good solution for if you do something like that. And I think most of the time, that kind of works, especially depends on the situation, but if it's not a really noticeable area of your knitting, you can totally get away with that. So that means not going back 5 or 7 rows or whatever it is. So I encourage you to try to fix your mistakes without tinking if you can. My sister, when she was first casting on her socks, was finding it really frustrating, and because she hadn't done a lot of knitting for a while, so she wrote me a text. She was like, "Why do I have a hole in my knitting? What the heck?" So I realized that that's probably what she did. It was that very same thing, just inadvertently do a yarn over, and then the next row she just knit it by accident. But she ended up pulling that out and just restarting. So it was pretty early on in her socks, so it didn't matter. But yeah, it's a really nice sock she's got there, and let's hope she gets the other one done before too long. Second sock syndrome is not a thing, Nora. Don't get in that. Don't get sucked into second sock syndrome. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. I'm gonna try and get some exercise. I'm gonna try to go for a walk. It's such a gorgeous day. It's definitely something I need to do. Plus, I need a couple things at the store, if there's a store open. And I will see you next time. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel. You just hit a subscribe button there, and there should be an option, like a little bell beside subscribe, so you can get notifications if there's a new episode. So set up your settings that way so you can always find out. And hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for coming. And hopefully in another 2 weeks or so, I'll be back. Happy knitting!